All right, let's kick this off. So, hey folks, hope you're all having a great time at Galaxy, learning lots of cool things from all our amazing speakers. Massively multiplayer is not a term you'd hear often alongside APIs or even SaaS products for that matter. But we're here to hopefully change that. With the help of some analogies from the world of computer games, we'll explore what a massively multiplayer API experience really looks like. For a quick introduction, Anudeep and I work with the product design team at Postman. We love computer games, and our experiences with these games have always been a strong influence in our work. So, for a quick idea of what we're going to cover in this talk, we're going to start with looking at the origins of the term massively multiplayer, which was popularized by the gaming genre. We'll then analyze some common characteristics that have come to define MMOs in the past decade, and then try to extrapolate and see what a massively multiplayer experience looks like for APIs specifically. We'll also have some demos in the middle to look at how Workspaces and Postman can help facilitate some of these experiences. Community is central to the theme of this session, so we'll take a deep dive into how you can include your community in your API lifecycle and the roles and governance models needed for a smooth relationship with the community. To round it off, we'll make some bold prediction around how massive we see these multiplayer experiences becoming with the help of public workspaces in Postman. My earliest experiences with popular multiplayer games were curiously always single player. Like the first time I fought an elite mob in World of Warcraft or built my first base in Minecraft, and I distinctly remember the sense of achievement that came with it. That feeling was deeply personal, and I couldn't really describe that to you in a way that you could relate to unless you have played it and had that experience yourself. It was fundamentally single player. As I spent more time in these games, I ran into more multiplayer experiences. Huge 25-man raids in World of Warcraft or servers in Minecraft where people were recreating entire cities. One thing that stood out in all these experiences was the sheer scale of what could be achieved when a lot of people collaborate on the same task. You could see this in the game, you could measure it, it was very, very tangible. The big conclusion to draw was that massively multiplayer experiences allow you to think big. And we want to see how we can bring this scale to the API lifecycle. APIs are intrinsically collaborative. By definition, you have two parties, producers and consumers, who have to collaborate and to ensure that the API meets the requirements. However, today, they get involved at different stages of the API lifecycle. That's like the MMO equivalent of recruiting a healer when your tank is being battered by the raid boss. It clearly isn't great timing, not the best idea. There's a lot of potential that can be tapped if we can include everyone in every single stage of the API lifecycle. And massively multiplayer experiences can lead to exponentially larger API projects or just better APIs. So the classic MMO recipe has always boiled down to having a whole lot of people, giving them a source of truth, and propagating changes in that world in real time. For example, in World of Warcraft, the zones and the characters and NPCs in those zones are the source of truth. Interactions with these characters, like fighting mobs or talking to NPCs, are the changes that essentially need to be propagated. This has to be real time because it affects the source of truth that other players are relying on. As an example, a healer can't heal you if they don't know that your character is being attacked. In Postman, the workspace is your world. It sets the context for your work, and the APIs and collections in it are the source of truth that your team is collaborating on. All changes to these entities in your workspace reflect in real time. So what you're looking at is exactly what your teammate sees in the workspace. So to give you a better idea, we're going to take the example of a community of game enthusiasts. Just give me a second while I switch over to Postman. All right. Hopefully you can see my screen over here. So computer games today are available across a whole bunch of different platforms, right? But sometimes it can get really confusing and frustrating to know which platform a game is available on, whether it's an exclusive or where you can get it at a discount. So hypothetically speaking, if we were to create an API which acts as a wrapper around each individual game platform's endpoints, we could then use it to check all the details for a particular game, such as the price for each game in every platform, which all platforms it's available on, and which one has it for the cheapest. We could then open this up to the community of game enthusiasts to hear from them how they'd want to use it. And we do all of this in a public workspace. So in the Playbase community workspace that I've set up here, I've already taken the liberty to create my API. It has a schema which defines all the endpoints I'd want. And I've created a whole bunch of collections from them. Some act as reference documentation, and others will act as examples of how to use these endpoints. At this point, I feel confident with the resources available in this workspace to go and make it public. So I'm going to head over to the workspace overview by clicking the Playbase community. And then over here on the right, in my sharing options, I can change the visibility from team to public. Once I go ahead and save the changes, this workspace is now public and available for anyone in explore.postman.com to view, as Anudeep will show you from a consumer's perspective in a bit. Over to you, Anudeep.
Awesome. So glad to be here. Let me quickly share my screen. Awesome. So, as Vineet mentioned, I'm also a gaming enthusiast. So, I want to explore the workspace that Vineet has just created. So to do that, we have the Explore tab. So this is like a holy grail for all things public inside Postman. You can explore all the public workspaces, APIs, collections, etc. To check the workspace that Vineet has just created, let me click on the Workspace tab here and sort by latest workspace. As you can see, this is the workspace that Vineet has just created. Let me click on it to explore. Here, I see that there are all these different platforms, but the one platform I use mostly, Steam, is not here. I wonder if the developers of this collection intentionally left this out or just forgot that the endpoint existed. So let me go ahead and comment on this particular folder. Cool. Now Vineet should be able to receive this comment and he'll be able to reply back. While he's doing that, I want to quickly show you one particular feature. So if you want to explore all the changes that that any workspace has gone through, you can go head over the overview tab and you can check the entire history of the workspace and the changes that the entire workspace has gone through. So let me go back to the comment. Looks like the comment has not been updated. Let me refresh that. Well, there you go. Okay, so looks like the developers of this collection were not familiar with this Steam endpoint. That's fine. I can add the endpoint myself. So let me go ahead and fork this particular collection into my own workspace. So I'll click on this and create a fork. Let me add a fork label. I'll fork this collection into my own public workspace that I have created a while back. So in here, I'll be able to freely explore the collection, send requests, use my own environment, etc. So here, for the purpose of this demo, let me go ahead and add an Steam endpoint. I'll choose the collection and the particular folder. Let me change this to a post request. For the purpose of this demo, let me. I'm only adding the request name because you get the idea. So now that this is done, I can raise a pull request. I can add a title. Since this is a short pull request, I can copy the same title into the description. I'll choose Vineet as a reviewer. And yeah, there you go. A pull request has been created with the Steam endpoint that we have added just now. So I have another account for the purpose of this demo, which is the owner of this particular collection. If I head over to the collection tab and in the context bar, I can see all the pull requests that have been created. As you can see, the pull request that we have just created is listed here. So let me pause here for a second and summarize what happened, because this is sort of a game changer. First, through comments, API producer and consumer were able to directly communicate with each other right within the context of Postman. Second, the API producer was able to accept contributions from their consumer, which is a big deal. So before we go ahead and merge the PR, let me talk about communities and the governance aspects around it. Cool. So when there are lots of people, naturally groups and communities start forming. We see this in massive multiplayer games such as World of Warcraft, Fortnite, etc. World of Warcraft in particular has guilds, which are a social research topic of their own, with complex rules and governance systems built around it. Whenever there are communities, naturally you tend to come up with some rules or governance mechanisms to self-regulate and to be structured. These are applicable for any open source project as well, and also any startup that relies on its community to make its product better. In Postman, a while back, we introduced RPAC to help teams choose rules that suit their actual work with APIs. This was the first step that we took with a vision to enable you to customize your own roles and permissions that will completely mimic your organization's internal structure. So, as part of the same vision, we have a few handy features within Postman that can help you out with API governance. First is the merge conditions. These are nothing but simple rules that have to be met for a PR to be merged. This takes a big load off collection editors, because otherwise they would have to manually check for these rules, which is a tedious task. Second is the community manager role. We introduced this role soon after public workspaces. Community managers decide which workspaces can be made public within a team. This role greatly helps teams to ensure that they adhere to certain standards before making anything public. So let's check out these features in action. So this is the main collection that we were referring to. Let me go ahead and open the pull request that is created. All right. So within the pull request, there's a tab within the context bar for merge conditions. Now there are no merge conditions. So let me open the model which will help you enable merge conditions. In this model, you can see that there are two merge checks. Let me go ahead and enable those. Basically what these do is these say that before any pull request has been merged, it has to be approved at least once and also must be approved by a collection editor. Let me go ahead and save these. So again, when you open the merge conditions, you can see that this pull request has not met either of the conditions. As a result, I won't be able to merge this pull request to my collection. Let me ask Vineet to go ahead and approve this pull request. Vineet, can you do that for me?
All right, done.
Cool. So now that Vineet has approved this merge, this pull request has satisfied all the merge conditions. Now I can go ahead and merge this into my collection. There are three different merge strategies that you can choose, but for the purpose of this demo, I'll go ahead with the first one. Let me merge this. There you go. My community has just saved me a bunch of work and potentially attracted a whole bunch of Steam users to my API. Now, regarding the community manager role, if you go ahead into the manage team page, from here you will be able to choose roles for each individual user within your team. Again, for this demo, Vineet is the community manager. So let me try changing visibility of a workspace to public and show you how the entire workflow with community manager looks like. So I have a workspace of my own that I've created. I wanted to make this public so that I can share the resources within this workspace to a larger audience. So within the visibility section here, I can choose public. As you can see, I can't make this workspace public without on my own. I can't make this workspace public on my own. A community manager has to approve my request. Let me go ahead and request. Here, optionally, I can add a note to explain why I want this workspace to be made public so that they have better context. Let me add a note for now and send a request. Done. So Vineet should now get my request and hopefully he'll accept this.
Got it. Just give me a second. And it should be approved.
Oh, done. Talk about real time, right? So as you can see, now my workspace has become public. So in this way, community manager can moderate resources of your team and decide what can be made publicly available. This kind of a role greatly helps larger teams ensure that nothing is made public accidentally. So how massive do we want to go? It totally depends on you, the users. Though this is still our first iteration, there is still a tremendous potential as to what can be achieved. There are two aspects to this. First is with respect to open source development. You can now build, share, and maintain open source projects right within Postman. You can also accept contributions from the community, which is a crucial part of being open source. To give you an example, there are already a few public workspaces that were created for COVID-related resources, and also a few workspaces were created around the recent US elections. Such type of engagement wouldn't be possible without public workspaces. The second aspect is with respect to companies. They can now share their latest API versions in real time with their users. Their consumers will be able to interact with them directly via comments. They can also accept contributions from their community. We are already seeing some early validations for these features. For example, Salesforce has a public workspace in which one of their collections have already been forked close to 1,000. They have already hundreds of forks. So sky's the limit. Go ahead and explore all the possibilities. Over to you, Vineet.
Thanks for that, Anudeep. So, just to wrap up here, today we covered some popular use cases of public workspaces. You can use these workspaces to build massively multiplayer experiences in Postman around your APIs. You can use them to get feedback from your community and accept contributions as well. The idea here is to build your API collaboratively. And one thing that's essential for facilitating this collaboration is governance tools. And in Postman workspaces, we have things like merge tools and community manager roles, which will help you do that. We're going to take a quick breather here to answer any questions anyone in the audience might have. Anything from the crowd, Francisco?
Dean in the chat posted a great comment, and maybe just if you guys want to confirm, I think that sounds exactly like what it is, but if you want to touch on that.
All right, Dean. So basically, people can collaborate on APIs directly through Postman collections in the same way that people would normally on GitHub, but without necessarily doing so just with the source code. Exactly. So the way we think about it today is that your repository is your code platform, and your Postman is the API collaboration platform, right? So while consumers might be working in your code repository, consumers and producers and consumers can collaborate on what's happening in your code repository through Postman. Postman will provide some tools on top of that, as well as better representations for some things that are intrinsically about APIs that your code repository might not be able to translate very well.
All right, I see a lot of great people names in the chat. If you have any questions on, how you could implement it at your place right now, what kind of stuff you should be putting forward, please ask them now. Or if you just loved it and want to give us a little support, pop that in the chat too. Give us, hit us with some of those high fives, like and subscribe.
Also, just to add to Vineet's point, with the GitHub integration coming on, the gap between your source code and what lives within Postman also reduces vastly. So that would also be highly useful.
If I had to summarize it, I would say that when our Git integration comes on, you wouldn't have to go into your repository to understand the work happening around your APIs. You could just come onto Postman, and everyone could use Postman as a platform for that.
Well, if I don't see anybody else popping a question, and I've got a great question. I don't know if it's a great question, but oh, actually, here we go. Do all users have the same access in a shared workspace?
So entities in workspaces have their own access control. So if I created a collection and I didn't give anyone else in the workspace access to that collection, they'll be able to view it, but they might not be able to edit or manipulate it. Essentially, those permissions have to be given individually as of now. But the way we've designed our role-based access control is all our roles are mapped to a certain set of permissions. And one of the big features that Abhinav talked about in our keynote was the ability to introduce custom roles in such a way you'd be able to map these roles to any kind of permissions you want. So you could have a future where certain super admins could technically have access to anything in the workspace at some point in time. Today, only the editors of the collection can edit the collection.
Also, just to add to that, with respect to public workspaces, by default, anybody who is not part of your team can just view all your collections, anything that is there in your workspace. If you have to edit directly, you should be a part of the team right now. Again, with respect to our back, probably more and more roles might come up in future. But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, keeping an eye on the slide on the chat. Of course, Lori, thanks for the question. Great question. Any other thoughts people have? Is if you're on the fence of whether or not your company should or shouldn't do that, go ahead, ask us. We'll tell you straightforward. Guys, what about any examples of some great APIs that you'd like to see? That what kind of APIs should we see, in public workspaces? I know that's super broad, but
I think a lot of the stuff that we covered in this presentation might require more than 30 minutes to digest, but we're all ears even after Galaxy. So anytime you feel like it, we'd love to hear from you around what kind of interactions you'd want Postman to help facilitate with your community around your APIs.
Yeah, and also feel free to go to the Explore tab and explore all the public workspaces that have been created. Half of them must be by kin, but
most likely.
Right now.
there are a few more questions in Slido. Does Postman have their own public workspace? Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes. That's actually something I wanted to cover. The Postman API is actually available through our own public workspace. It's also got a whole bunch of collections which utilize the Postman API for different creative use cases. So definitely go check that out.
So is there any way to promote our public workspace inside Postman Explore?
So at the moment, no, but we do a pretty good job of curating workspaces which have, done their due diligence and adding good descriptions and making it very consumable for the community. So I would say the best way to get it featured is flesh it out really well and get a lot of people using it.
Yeah, no problem. All right, guys, we've got a couple more minutes here. And again, like they said, you can always reach out and catch us later if there's more you want to know or help add. But we're here for it. We're here for you.
Yeah, if not now, feel free to DM us directly on Hopin anytime this week. We are all on Hopin.
All right, should we do it? Do it going once, going twice? Let's give these men a break. Oh, we got one. We got one more. Let's see, Dean, I'd love to see APIs for video streaming services. Yeah, I know. That's ideal. That would be the ideal world with our public workspaces, right?
In terms of the video API, could you repeat that again? Sorry, Francisco.
Oh, I'm just saying in general, we've got a lot of companies contributing, participating. This is your stop right here, and then you just load it real easily right in Postman.
Absolutely.
You help to make sure Netflix always keeps The Office in its cycle,
Yeah, I mean, we have already seen a few big companies creating public workspaces within Postman. As I said, Salesforce, for example. But I don't think to be able to create a public workspace, you necessarily don't have to open source your APIs, right?
I think Ashwari was asking about the status about the flow runner. Anudeep, you want to take that since you're working on it directly?
When will no code flow runner come out? Well, as we want to ship it as soon as possible, but we are actively working on it. Can we do assertions in its no code? Yeah, I mean, ideally we want to eliminate the barrier of JavaScript within Postman. So that would be the vision, of course. So we'll see. We might most probably do it in iterations, but that's the goal though.
And all of this will be available through public workspaces. So you're going to get to see a whole bunch of flows that other people are creating as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we hit it right at that last minute. I think we've answered all the questions. So thanks everybody for coming in and hanging out with us. Thanks Anudeep and Vineet for a great presentation and a chance to talk about gaming.
Thank you, Francisco.
Thanks a lot for listening in, guys, and enjoy the rest of Galaxy.
Yeah. Have a great week.
Yep.
See you guys.
See ya.
See you. Bye bye.